there's 20 crew, it starts to be like, okay, we got to trust that culture we're building to resolve these issues as they happen.
You do, and I think, guys, sometimes maybe like my mommy instincts kick in. I don't know what it is about being a female, but sometimes I do find that, like when I watch you guys, you do it, I'm like, I think sometimes I'm just trying to fight my own genetics here. Like it just.
Well, you're definitely more in tune,
100%. I think another part of a great learning period is that silence after you've asked a question. Like, you ask a question, how much you learn in that little bit of silence before the conversation really starts. People that are unsure of themselves or aren't comfortable will fill that silence very quickly and will jump at you and try and fulfill you with a confidence that's not really there. But when you ask a deep question and and it's being absorbed, there's a silence after you ask the question. And I think that tells a lot too of when you really look deep into somebody, where they're at and why you've pulled them aside because there's clearly something right. And you, as a leader and a mentor, you need to hang on to that and just work with it as it happens.
Yeah.
Wow, it's deep for a Tuesday, isn't it? You haven't even got to the week,
I told you, Dean's the man.
Dean's the man.
I told you, Dean
is
being
an active listener, Dean.
Active.
Out of that.
Active. I love that word. Being an active listener.
Active listener. I would add to that, with the listening, is because that's made a big difference with myself. Is being present. That's part of being an active listener, because we can all sit there and listen. But if we start zoning out and kind of, not really being active and being present with the people that we're with, it might miss the whole meaning of what they were trying to express to us, and that's really important, because if you actually sit there with someone and listen to them and don't get what they're trying to communicate to us, that can be really difficult. That can actually make the situation a lot worse.
Yeah, and then we go into, isolation. The industry we're in is quite difficult. We've talked about communication and body language and active listening, but I think the isolation is what is the hardest for me. I've got a wife and 2 kids in Canada and Dominican Republic, but it feels like when I'm away, like when I'm at work, I've got to give it 110%. And I think that's where the exhaustion kind of comes out, or fatigue comes in as a captain, I find. It's like, I'm here, I may as well make the most of it, as opposed to finding that work-life balance at work.
Yeah,
I think that's a very good. Let me look. I don't know you that well, Liam, so let me ask you this: when you explain yourself, if I asked you a question, are you an introvert or an extrovert? I have an opinion. Yeah. Okay, tell me what you are.
I'd say introvert.
All right, but at work you're an extrovert, because clearly I can tell. Well, you're the same as me. At work, I am completely here. I'm here for the crew. I'm here for the owner. And when I go home, I just want to sink into my couch, and I want to be that introvert. I don't want to be making the decisions on where we're going for dinner, what we're having for dinner, because I make those decisions every day that I'm on the boat. Where are we going out, Captain? Who's paying the bill? How are we splitting the bill? We go out for a crew meal, but people at the restaurant don't know who I am for a bar of soap, but they still always walk up and give me the bill without, you know what I mean? And it's because we project, and it's the aura that we hold when we're at work. But my natural person is I am an introvert through and through.
Yeah,
but it's how we project ourselves which makes it hard. And I agree with you 100%, mate. When we're at work, we're on. But as soon as we get home, we fall into a heap. And sometimes that creates problems for our partners or our children and all that, because they go, Daddy, when we see you online, you're having so much fun, or you're doing this, or you've got so much to say. But when you're at home, you're different.
Yeah, that's, somebody told me that I'm an introverted extrovert. Because my wife said, look, when you get home from the boat, usually a couple of days, you just sleep.
Yeah.
And I just let you sleep. And usually I'm good after that, because, like Dean was alluding to, just making all those decisions. And it's not really whether you're physically tired, it's more you're mentally tired, because you've taken on that responsibility and that role. And then when you walk away from it, like when I'm in the airplane or when I walk in the front door, sit down, and then it's like, okay, all right, all that goes away. And then, I'm with it takes a few days for me to get back into, being at home with my wife and my kids and stuff like that, because it's, now I'm in the different role there. And also, my wife has said, because I'll come in and start doing things a certain way or whatever. And I got told specifically, hey, we have a system here. And it's like, okay, I'll go back. I'll let you have it, do it your way. And that'll be fine. I'll just sit back. And like Dean was saying, I'm happy to not make those decisions.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm in 15 years, we're married with my wife, and I remember very early in our relationship with children, she's like, "You're not the captain here at home." And I'm like,
yeah, that's clear.
That's
clear.
Great. That's actually great. It took me a couple of years to settle into. I'd always go back and I'd always entertain everyone and just continue that social side. And after about, I'm like, after a couple of years, I realized that's actually not me. Me is coming home, relaxing, putting my feet up, calling my family in Australia, connecting with friends that I haven't connected with, But my wife gave me that, that ultimatum. You're not the captain here. It's like you're not in charge.
You may be the captain, but she's the admiral.
Yeah, there you go.
Orders.
When I go home, in all honesty, Dean, I don't know you that well either, but I'll be vulnerable, is I do get pulled in a lot of directions.
Yeah.
That's been the hardest for me. It's, even the dog. I love my dog, but my dog's got a half-hour walk in the morning and afternoon scheduled in, my wife, my kids. It becomes a full, I've still got a book I'm trying to read, and I'm like, I don't get to it as much as I'd like at home,
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
And Captain Kelly, what's your kind of life away from family? What's the reality of how do you balance the family side into yachting? Advice for crew out there. You there, Kelly? Hello, can you hear me, Scott? Dean?
I can hear you.
I can hear you guys. Kelly, can you hear us?
No.
Oh, Captain Kelly jumped in and out.
She's cutting out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys balance the family life without being too personal? I mean, that's the hardest thing as a captain, I think.
Yeah, it's not.
It is, and I think Scott nailed it on the head. It takes a little bit of time to integrate back into household life, and I think part of the thing is you can't come home. Your wife has a process, has a plan, she has a rule for the kids. There's a program getting them to school in the mornings. You come home, as soon as you change it, it creates chaos.
Yeah.
So you should not change that. You know what I mean? And so sometimes it's better not to rock the boat per se, without trying. No pun intended, but it's better just to come home and slip back into things and do it their way.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, because I've known over the years, just especially being on rotation the last several years, that the adjustment period, it took a while the first couple of times because the boat was so busy and stuff. And when I'd come home, I'd be used to being at that high rate of speed and stuff too. So that was kind of it's hard to go to a full stop.
Yeah, but I think you try and create that family feel on board too, because like I know in the crew mess now on our boat, there's all these pictures, and so many crew come back to Umbrella, they go away and then they come back. Like we've got, I think 3 crew now that have on board that have been here like 6 times. They kind of do relief work, and to see their picture on the crew mess board gives them confidence, especially when the other new crew are here. They're like, "Who's this guy?" I'm like, "Well, he's been here a dozen times or half a dozen times, and his face is on the board. He's part of the family of Unbridled." I think that's where that bringing the family feel into yachts can be successful in a leadership aspect.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I agree with that. That's one of the big things when I interview people, that, we have a family vibe on board, and that's what I'm trying to produce. And I spend a lot of time and put a lot of effort, like you do, from what I see from your socials, but it takes it out of you.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Can you guys hear me?
Yep,
we can now.
Yeah. So, I wanted to say I'm the same. What you were saying, Dean, is like exactly me as well. Like you would think I'm an extrovert, but I'm not. I'm such an introvert. And so I spend all day, like, I feel like,
Well, looks
I
like it's
feel
just
like, I feel like we perform all day long. And so I spend my whole day peopling, extroverting. And like literally at the end of the day, you know, I'm holing up in my cabin with my dog and the door's closed and like you're like, who is this person that just went from big and loud to like quiet and disappeared? And the other thing is I had rotation for the first time. I finally got some rotation, and a couple months ago was my first month off, and I joke you not, I got home and I slept for 2 days. And I was like, oh my God, what has my body been doing the last 20 years? Like I was out cold for 2 days, but I'm also the same way. Like it's funny. I think we're all like twins because we'll get done at the end of the day. And Alex, my engineer, my partner, he's super extroverted. And he's like, you want to go here? You want to go there? And I'm like, nope, nope, nope. And I feel bad.
Yeah, I agree with.
I feel bad about that because he wants to go, and I don't, because I'm like, I've just used my social battery is flat at the end of the day. Like I can't. And when he says, well, what do you want for eat? I'm like, I can't make those decisions. I can't. I've been making decisions all day long. Like I don't know where I want to go or what I want to do. You just make the decision and I'll follow.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot more. I don't know. I think the older you get, the kind of more you value your personal space and personal time.
Yeah.
And how to reinforce that and what is good. You know, I mean, for me, anywhere I go in the world is that morning walk and afternoon walk. You know, Dean, that's, you know, I don't get into running too much every now and then or weights. I'm just like, I can get off the boat, I can walk. You know, with music, without music, call a friend, call a family. Captain Kelly and I had a great chat the other day while I was walking, and I'm like, this is a recharge moment. You know.
100%.
Yeah.
And where are you based out now, Dean? Are you still in Barcelona, or?
So we don't really have a base. So we spend the summer season here, which is pretty much March through till November. No, sorry, March through till October, and then we're across, and we're either if we're in the US, we're in Ribo or the Bahamas, where it depends on wherever we've got trips coming up. So we're a pretty busy boat. We do about between 8 and 10 weeks in the Med, and then plus Boss, and then we do about 3 weeks of third-party charter in the Bahamas or the Caribbean, and then the Boss uses the boat pretty heavily in the winter periods.
Oh wow,
busy man! Are you on rotation as well, or?
Yes, yeah. This is like this. I joined yachting, like I said, in '91, and I've been on this boat now 7 years, and this was my first rotational boat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And where do you live actually, in Barcelona or back in Australia?
No. I live in Manchester.
Oh, okay. Oh, a bit all over, right?
So, yep. Married an English lady, which I'm very lucky to have done, and who's very accepting to what I do. And she's not in the industry per se. She doesn't work on yachts. She's in the fringes, and you know, it's very good. She's very driven in her work. So I guess the times we don't have kids, and I think the time that she misses is on weekends, but during the week she's very motivated in her work, so it works well for us.
Yeah, it's tough finding that balance and everything. We're going to talk about respect, leadership, and positive culture. Firstly, you know, do you believe in your roles? Do you think respect is earned or lost easier?
Earned.
I think it's probably lost easier than it's earned.
Earned, yeah.
But when you make a mistake, funny, I was having this conversation in another forum the other day, and I think I'm a different leader today than I was 5 years ago. Wow. And that's because of the millennials. I honestly believe that the millennials have changed the way that I lead on board a boat, because now I think that when I make a change, a systems change, or I try to change something on board the boat, I have to think first about what the millennials are going to say or how they're going to push back against it, so that I can make sure that I've got the changes to the systems on board are structured well, because I don't want them to push back without me having an answer to it. Because millennials do push back, because they look at their work ethic is different to my ethic.
Yeah.
But you know what? Shouldn't our leadership should always, from year to year, look different, because it should
100%.
always be changing.
Yeah.
Always improving.
Yeah, and I think it's a different application for different people, like you're saying, different cultures, different age groups, different, because we kind of have a lot of nuances to where the communication is going to be a little bit different with each one of those people, especially the millennials is going to be a little bit different. They might need a few more of the attaboys or what have you. They might need. I had people that told me 10 years ago that, you never told me I did a good job. I said, well, I didn't know that was a thing. Because when I was a kid, the only reason why anybody came over to talk to me was because I did something wrong. That was the only time anybody talked to me. So 100%. I was like, okay, so maybe I need to come through and check them and say, hey, things look good, that kind of stuff, because it's and it was something I had to learn that, hey, I need to go by and tell them that they're doing okay, doing bad, or they needed some kind of feedback from me, which I think is probably helpful for me. It was very helpful, more helpful for me, because, respect, I think is earned, but like Dean was saying, it's easily lost. If you do one wrong move, and when you lose that trust factor, it can be tough to gain that back.
Yeah, that's my thoughts, absolutely, because I think, a lot of people join with a certain amount of respect for the captain or for any head of department. When that person makes a mistake, that head of department goes out and has a big night, everyone kind of starts losing a little bit of respect, and it just gradually gets less and less. And I think that's my biggest lesson to people from a mentorship role is, choose your company, choose your options, because, if you're in this for a career, you have to maintain that integrity in oneself,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think consistency is the quickest way to lose it, or inconsistency is the quickest way to lose that respect.
Which goes on to a lot of crew that, that I work with now. The quickest way they make a difference on board is to make change. And I find a lot of crew joined and they're like, okay, on my boat we did this and this, so I'm going to use change as a way to justify my new role. Do you find that as well, or?
Can be. Depends on the person. Sometimes, the new broom comes in and wants to sweep everything, but sometimes it's warranted, sometimes it's not. But I think, again, it's each position, each person. You have to take it as it comes and kind of apply with what you have in front of you, because a lot of people, I've had many chefs come in and want to buy all new equipment and different stuff and this and that, and just say, hey, well, it's been this way for a while, let's give it 90 days or 6 months, and then if you can't do without it, or if you've done a great job and the boss really likes the work you're doing, then we'll kind of revisit that as far as what you need, and try to do that with all the departments, because you don't want to come in and say they need all these things, because for the most part, if they're there the first 2 weeks, they don't really know where everything is. So chances are they're just buying something that we already have. So, you want to make sure that that's not doubled up,
Yeah, that's what I'm doing a lot now. I'm doing after the onboarding process. Like Captain Kelly, I've taken some advice from you, and after the onboarding process, I then sit down with the crew and the head of the department, and I go back through the documents that they've all said yes to. And there's so many times now I'm saying, Captain Dean, is the crew have said yes, they understand who the DPA is. And then when I ask, they're like, actually, I don't know. I'm like, well, why would you say yes? So a lot of times the millennials I find are not as honest and open. They like to kind of hide the information and not be as vulnerable, I've found.
I'm on the cusp of being a millennial. The cutoff is like 1981 and I'm an 81 baby.
Okay.
And you know, you guys are talking about, you know, the millennials need an attaboy. You're absolutely freaking right, because I thrive on feedback. And if my boss isn't giving me feedback, I'm sending him an email. And I'm like, hey, I need to know what you're thinking. I need to know what you like, what you didn't like. And I've got some older crew, 48, 52, 62. And they're like, what do you mean you want me to give my junior crew members an attaboy? They're just here to do a job. They like,
Yeah.
we're here to do a job, and you get a paycheck, and the paycheck is your attaboy. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, and I'm like, no, you have to tell them if they're doing well, if they're not doing well. I'm like, so I'm falling in that millennial category where like I need the feedback, and you know, my 52-year-old engineer is not giving his 32-year-old second the feedback, and I'm like, you have to change this. I'm like, this is essential for his survival. He will not survive if you don't talk to him about what's right or what's wrong. So
yeah, feedback's definitely the key to creating a good positive culture. But I mean, there's, you know, a lot of times I wake up and I tell the crew it's okay not to be okay. You can have bad days, but I do think an overwhelming positive approach, I think, is a key to building a good team. You know, but what's some of the things you've done over your careers, even Captain Dean and Scott, that have kind of helped motivate that team? Like we talk about sitting on the dock and having a barbecue or doing a hike together. You know, what are some things you've seen in your career that have helped that positive environment?
We do monthly, well, when we can, we do monthly team building exercises, which was like, for example, I'll give them a half a bag of marshmallows and a packet of pasta each and say, okay, you've got 15 minutes, 5 minutes to talk about what you're going to do. You're not allowed to touch anything. And then you've got 10 minutes to build the highest possible thing out of marshmallows and dried pasta that you can possibly do. And it's about, and then you might do it one week where you tell the HODs, like the chief officer, the chief stewardess, the chief engineer, that they're not allowed to be the ones that lead it. You have to be a follower and let someone else be to come forward and to show themselves. You know, and I do things like that, like where I'm just continually finding little games that we can do, or, you know, the classic one where you line all the stewardesses up in a line face to back. You show the back person a movement like the robot and stir to the left, stir to the right, and then they have to pass it on and see what the message is by the time it gets to the fifth person in front of them. Wow. And you'll blow your mind how different it is to what you gave person one. Honestly, it's like, but it's building confidence amongst the team is what, you know, which I find really pleasing and rewarding.
Yeah, and then let them have their feedback. I mean, even a lot of times the crew, I found it quite separate, the deck crew and interior crew. I'm like, guys, we're all in this together. If you can somehow have the same understanding, we're in the process together, I think it creates a better environment. What about you, Captain Scott? What's some of the teams?
You know, a lot of the team stuff is just having them go out and do stuff together, whether it's hikes or you know, going out and working out or doing something. But not everybody gets involved with that. But I had thought about doing a day where everybody switches roles. And I wanted to get you guys feedback on that, just so everyone understands what the other people are doing. Like, because especially on charter, we all get, you know, those blinders on of hey, this is what, you know, my role is very important. I have to get it all done. But everybody's job is important. But if you've done the other people's roles, then I think you're more willing to help each other out a lot of times, because you might see their struggle sometimes. And that was just my thought.
I wanted to do, and I think we talked about this once before, an inside out day. So where the inside went outside and the outside came inside. And I think that it would just be hilarious for one. I think it'd be a great laugh for the day, but I think it would also create a whole different level of respect for what each other do.
Absolutely, Kelly, it does. And I've got a little bit of an advantage. I'm a slightly bigger boat, so we don't take the whole interior crew and put them outside. We'll take two from the outside and put two and switch them around, so that the interior girls get a chance to show their skill set and to help the boys learn how to make a bed and fold a sheet and hang a towel, you know, and one guy's down in the laundry helping the laundry, you know, and then that way they're learning each other's skill set and understanding the pressure points of their role.
Mhm.
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times between the departments, a lot of the issues that I see in my career have stemmed between that lack of communication between them. Because it's like,
Yeah.
we're a team, you're a team. And it's like, we're all on the same team, people. We're all got different
Yeah.
roles, like a football team. You know what I mean?
And it all really kind of comes down to the heads of the department. If they get along and they're kind of have that team vibe, then it kind of helps pass through the rest of the crew. But if the two of them are kind of divided and kind of my side, your side, then that can kind of get kind of messy sometimes.
I have a mantra on Arians where we're only as strong as our weakest link on any given day. And some days that's me, and I'll put my hand up.
Yeah.
And I will need someone to back me up and get me through the day. And I have no problems in telling people that I'm not having a good day and I need your support. And, you know, that's part of it. And that encourages others to speak up when they're not having good days, because we all can't get through every single day and be 100%, you know, not okay, like Liam says.
Well, that's what I was saying with how you have to be.
Go on, Kelly.
That goes back to my being authentically yourself, like 100% yourself. And so when I'm having a bad day, a tough day, like I'm letting you know it because I need you to back me up. And I think that's so important. And then it makes it more comfortable for them when they're having a bad day. They don't feel bad or weird or awkward coming forward and saying, hey, you know, I'm like having a crap day. I need y'all to have my back.
Yeah, I've never heard of, I'm very appreciative, Dean, because I've never heard of the second part of what you said is, I'm having a bad day and I need your support. That's the bit that I've never actually got to yet, because that's probably the most impactful thing. I've always said, yeah, okay, I'm not having a great day, it's all good. But having that is not having a great day, I need your support. That's very wise, I think. Is that something you've always kind of had over the years, or you've realized that you've got to be open for people to help you?
You've got to be open. You've got to be empathetic to everyone, but you've got to show vulnerability as well. And when you show that vulnerability to people, then I think it opens a gate to people so that it comes back the other way. If you're vulnerable, then they're going to go, you know what? If the captain, the leader of this boat, the guy that we follow out into any roughness of seas, puts his hand up and says, hey, I'm not having a good day, then I sure as heck can tell someone, hey, I'm not having a good day.
Yeah, and
it's huge. It's huge.
It's a big deal, because if you don't and you just have a bad day and you end up taking it out on everyone's going to be hiding from you, and it'll just make the situation worse. Like, oh, the captain's having a bad day. Stay out of the wheelhouse. Stay away from him. You know, and then it just kind of divides up everything even more. But if you do that, it's a more open mindset, and they see that it's okay as long as they're not having a bad day every day.
Yeah.
Well, I've got one of those funny moments in my career, not career, but unbridled right now, is we're at that point where I've got to make a decision when we're going to sea, Dean. So we're in Seattle going to Sitka. Weather's good, engineering's good, everything's ready. And everyone's like, okay, when we're going to go this week or next week, Cap? And they're all asking me. And I kind of always give them to like Tuesday, 12 o'clock midday. I said, that's the cutoff, I'll make a decision. But it's funny to see the crew that have known you for a long time. They understand the process I'm going through, and they don't bring extra load to me. Like, they're like, cool, Cap, make your decision. Can I help? Let me know. This is the update. And that's where I found a lot of confidence in my career, is having the right people around you that understand that even if you're having a tough day or a tough time or a tough decision, they're not putting that extra pressure on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm dying to go to sea. That's the other problem too. I'm looking at the weather. And it's the northwest, so you don't get many windows. And it's like a 1.5 day window to get to Sitka. And I'm like, do I take it or do I wait? For the next one. And it's like
you're not going to go up the inside passage or anything. You're just going to go.
No, too many rocks and trees to hit. I want to choose Mother Ocean. I'll stay out the outside.
Yeah.
No, but on the inside you need a pilot as well. So for us to get
you do, because we didn't need one from there. But in Canada anyway. Once we got
Yeah,
to
we did one for Canada and then for Alaska. So the more land we see, the more mileage expenses.
yeah,
So,
yeah, forget that.
choose Mother
That's a
Earth.
lot.
Captain D, where's your favourite cruising? We'll wrap up with some nice positive thoughts. Where's your favourite cruising in the world?
Oh, look, mate, I think for the med side, Croatia, you can't beat it. It's just so good. And no matter the weather conditions, you can always find somewhere to be out. The water's crystal clear. The people are great. For that side of the world, it's the Croatia with hands down. And then for the other side, probably the Bahamas. We spent a lot of time in the Bahamas, so I know it really well. We're a pretty big boat. I'll take it over the bank. I'll go through the inside passage with it. So, you know, I'm pretty comfortable. I haven't had the privilege yet to do Asia. So, you know, I would love to do that. So for now, without doing Asia, it's the Bahamas and Croatia.
Wow. What about you, Captain Kelly? You seem to like the Bahamas idea. It's hard to beat it,
definitely.
isn't it? Clear
For me,
water.
it's the people. It's the people that make a place. And like, I just have such amazing relationships in the Bahamas with people. And so much so that I grabbed 2 Bahamians and took them with me. So,
Okay.
like, it's just, yeah, definitely for me. I'm curious to see after you spend a season or 2 in the Med, if that changes. I don't think it will. Just because I love the Bahamian people so much and have, you know, such great friends.
Oh, the Med's special. I end up doing it every 3
Yeah.
years or 4 years for some reason. And when I go to the Med, I'm like, you know, in Spain, Italy, France, they're all beautiful, but Croatia's got this uniqueness. I think Croatia really hits the spot. Yourself, Captain Scott?
Well, I haven't made it over to Croatia. I know I really liked Corsica, just in the Med there, just because it was fairly unique and I got to go in the interior. But on this side, the favorite place that I've been to in a long time was probably I like going all the way down towards Grenada because there's a road less traveled, and it kind of reminded me of Jamaica when I was a kid, just because like people come up and talk to you and just kind of hanging out and just really warm, nice people. But it's kind of the road less traveled. I think people still think it's a communist island or whatever from the 80s or something, because and it's hard to get to. But I did like it down that side just because it was less crowded. No, I always still love the Bahamas. I mean, it's never a bad day over there, but I would like to spend a bit more time down towards Grenada and the ABCs and stuff like that, just because it's fairly unique down that way.
It's unique, but you got some big ugly brothers down there in Venezuela and all that. It gets a bit. I've done a lot of cruising, and you know, ABC Islands, and every time you just hear on the radio the Venezuelan Navy, you're like, please don't come for me, not for me.
Yeah, I'll skip over that part. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. I mean, the purpose of this check-in Tuesdays is to reach out to people and try and help everyone understand that it's okay not to be okay. And I think Captain Dean has given us some worlds of wisdom today that even I'll take away to the bridge. And one of the biggest one is, you know, say you're okay, say you're not okay, but then you're open to help. That's the biggest takeaway I've got. Because I do say a lot, I'm okay, it's going to be good, it's going to be good. And everyone on the boat says the same because they hear me. But I never thought about the other side of it, Dean, which is, okay, I'm not okay, how can I help? You know? And asking for that help, I think, is a good key.
Well, the big thing from Dean is listening, you know, and I always say there's a reason God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, you know, is to use the 2 ears.
And
it's
one
vulnerability of it.
Yeah. One thing is, if you're having a bad day or bad thing, is one thing that's helped me is go and help somebody else. It'll get you out of your element pretty quick.
It will.
Oh, well, thanks everyone for your time. Have a wonderful week. See you next check-in Tuesday. Don't forget to donate if you can to Yachty Minds Matter.
Thank you.
And Dean, how can they get a hold of you?
Captain Pilates, my handle on Instagram, which a lot of people reach out. I'm happy to talk to anyone, any problems, just hit me up. But yeah, Captain Pilates, my handle on or Yacht RS. I get a lot of messages on that on Insta. So, but yeah, like, you know, I've had the privilege of meeting Kelly. I know Scott from way back, and we hang out a bit when we can. And I've met Carly. So yeah, sometime soon. Hope we can have a beer together, Liam. And
Yeah, mate. That's
Be
what it's
really
about. It's funny.
Well-
It's only until like 2 years ago I really kind of realized there's another side to yachting than just being on the bridge by myself.
100%. You know,
There
and
is.
look, this is a wonderful industry. I love it, and the only thing I want for it is to be better than
Yeah.
it was the day I left, the day I joined. And so
Yeah.
that's
Well said.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of trauma in industries, a lot of things that aren't right about it, but I think we're going down the right path by communicating and being there for people as they need it. So once again, have a wonderful week. Thank you for your check-in Tuesdays. Good to see you. Nice to meet you, Captain Dean, Captain Scott,
Thanks,
Captain
mate.
Kelly. Always a pleasure. Be
Thanks
safe.
for
Be
sharing your
blessed.
time with